Hi everyone, I am Ajmal Elai. I am the founder of AAYAN Management Solutions. Welcome to AAYAN World. Together, let's explore research, evidence, and innovation that inform better decisions and create lasting impact. Let's begin our journey.
When a city's water infrastructure fails, authorities immediately demand data to fix it. But every credible piece of research investigating this crisis stands or falls on a single structural choice made before a single drop is measured: the methodology. If a researcher selects the wrong framework, it doesn't matter how meticulously they collect the data. Perfectly precise mathematics applied to the wrong variable will actively mislead public policy. To avoid this, we have to distinguish between two distinct concepts. Methodology is the overarching theoretical lens and philosophical framework that governs your entire research design. Methods, on the other hand, are the practical tools of execution, the actual household surveys, focus group discussions, or physical field observations. Mapping the quantitative and qualitative toolkits side by side reveals the landscape of modern social research. It proves that accuracy isn't about choosing the most complex tool. It is about matching the specific method directly to the research question. Understanding this complete landscape is the only reliable way a researcher can prevent method-induced bias when trying to solve complex developmental crises. Before you can select a practical tool, you must define the epistemological foundation of your study, your theory of how knowledge itself is generated. This blueprint illustrates two major frameworks. The first is positivism, which assumes an objective, universally measurable reality exists independent of human perspective. This drives quantitative research, relying on deductive logic, moving strictly top-down to test theories against hard, measurable data. Opposing this is interpretivism, which assumes reality is socially constructed, deeply subjective, and heavily dependent on human context. This drives qualitative research. It uses inductive logic, building new theories from the ground up by gathering raw, unfiltered human observations. Applying this to our water crisis, a positivist approach measures the exact volume of water flow and chemical purity in the pipes. An interpretivist approach explores the subjective frustration of the community forced to boil that water. These are not competing factions. They are distinct philosophical lenses used to observe the exact same real-world phenomenon. Translating these abstract philosophies into fieldwork requires specific operational toolkits. This comparative matrix breaks down exactly how quantitative and qualitative methodologies execute in practice. Starting with purpose, quantitative research seeks to measure, test, and quantify variables. Qualitative seeks to deeply understand meaning and context. They ask different questions. Quantitative designs ask how many and how much. Qualitative asks why did this happen and what is the experience like. Their data types diverge. Quantitative extracts strict numerical data, while qualitative harvests rich descriptive words and observations. To gather this data, quantitative work requires massive, statistically representative samples. Qualitative relies on small, purposive samples, chosen for specific expertise. Finally, quantitative analysis runs data through strict statistical models, while qualitative requires thematic palpation to identify patterns. Deploying the quantitative toolkit for the water crisis means sending a standardized survey to 5,000 households to map access rates across entire districts. Deploying the qualitative toolkit means conducting deep in-person interviews to discover the specific cultural norms causing a community to reject a newly built water source. Neither approach is universally superior. The value of the toolkit is determined entirely by how accurately it matches the specific research question you need answered. There is a persistent bias in certain scientific disciplines that qualitative research lacks strict academic rigor. The assumption is that without mathematics, there is no credibility. In quantitative work, as we see here, rigor is established through two statistical metrics: validity and reliability. Validity is the proof that your instrument is actually measuring the exact metric it claims to measure, without capturing unintended noise. Reliability is the guarantee that if another researcher repeats your exact test under identical conditions, they will yield identical numerical results. Qualitative research replaces those statistical metrics with the structural framework of trustworthiness. To achieve trustworthiness, a qualitative researcher must clearly prove four distinct pillars: credibility, transferability, dependability, and confirmability. True academic rigor is not defined by a spreadsheet. It is defined by the transparency, logic, and structural integrity of your chosen methodological framework. Modern monitoring, evaluation, and learning, or MEL, frequently deals with complex human environments where singular approaches fail. This requires the philosophical stance of pragmatism. Pragmatism abandons theoretical purity. Instead, it prioritizes whichever combination of methods will most effectively solve the problem at hand. This chart shows the operational result of pragmatism: mixed methods. Blending both toolkits yields exceptional depth and breadth. A sequential design executes this in phases. You might deploy a broad statistical survey first to identify macro trends, followed by targeted qualitative interviews to explain why certain statistical anomalies occurred. A concurrent design runs both quantitative testing and qualitative observations simultaneously, merging the datasets during analysis to form a complete picture. Both designs rely heavily on triangulation, the practice of using multiple, independent data sources to cross-verify findings and eliminate the blind spots inherent in any single method. By utilizing mixed methods, researchers are no longer forced to choose between capturing massive demographic scale and understanding intimate human nuance. They can achieve both. Resolving systemic challenges requires accurate, reliable data, but generating that data requires adherence to the core rule of social research. You must rigorously match the method to the research question, rather than forcing a complex question to fit your preferred method. Mastering the tension between these distinct, deeply complementary methodologies is what separates a mechanical data technician from a true research architect. In the next episode of this masterclass series, we will conduct a complete deep dive into the Quantitative toolkit, unpacking everything from large-scale sampling to complex quasi-experimental designs and randomized controlled trials. Subscribe to ensure you don't miss it, and check the description for the foundational academic texts that inform these techniques.